Something that's especially true when you're trying to do brand awareness or long-term reach type of advertising is constantly monitoring the quality of the placements, quality of the targeting, because you're not going to have a hard metric like leads or pipeline revenue or sales to properly optimize within the advertising platform. So one thing that you want to do is you want to go into the campaigns and go under the section called Insights and Reports and select when and where ads showed. So for this particular campaign, you can see that I'm displaying my ads on these YouTube channels. You can see the relative CPMs, the number of impressions, interactions, etc. You can see which ones are driving clicks, which ones are not, and you make sure that you have the proper filter here. So for example, you can have YouTube and display, YouTube, or just display. So since this focus right now is on YouTube, that's what I have selected. Now, when I was going through some of these, the other thing to keep in mind is looking at the time frame. So if you made changes, for example, a week ago, then there's not much point in looking at the all-time data. You're just going to want to look at perhaps the last 7 days. So when we go through this data, sometimes we find things that seem a bit strange. So for example, you might see some of the channels are kids channels. Well, in that case, what you might want to do is select it, hit edit, and hit exclude from ad group or exclude from campaign. Another thing you might find in my experience is channels that are in languages that are not the one that you're targeting. So even though I'm targeting English, sometimes I find that I'm broadcasting to channels that are being spoken in an Indian language. So in cases like that, sometimes what may be happening is people are using VPNs, so you're not actually targeting the locations you think you are. And one way to correct for that would be to adjust the placements, the YouTube channels, and which you're displaying. Other things that you may find is there may be patterns where you're displaying a lot on TV screens, and perhaps TV screens are not the best place if you're trying to get engagement and clicks. So you might want to exclude that. There's also a lot of misclicks on mobile phones, so you might want to consider excluding that. In some cases, I only advertise on computers or what you might call desktop. So make sure you're keeping track of what's actually happening because in a lot of the ad tech space, the advertisers, in this case YouTube, might tell you that you're getting all these great metrics. But when you actually look into the details of which ads are displaying, what you might find is you're actually advertising to children in countries that you never intended to, in languages you never intended to.